But before we dive into all that, you have a really interesting story because this business, GenuTrace, is relatively new, like within the last couple of years. And prior to that, you were on the corporate track, working for someone else. But for many years, you were on the corporate track, really at a high level, a VP at a company. And then you decided, you know what? I'm going to launch my own business. So, where did all of that, I think, excitement come from that you saw something in the marketplace and said, I think I'm going to go out and do this on my own? Because, there's a certain amount of like comfort and I think just stability that comes when you're working for someone else, especially, being on the VP level. And here you are starting your own company, MeiLin. So talk us through that. What made you sit back and say, I think I'm ready to, branch out on my own and do this?
That's a really good question, and think a lot of people, at a certain point in their lives, ha come to a point where, "Could I do what I'm doing but better, outside of the confines of a corporate environment?" And within a corporate environment, you have to follow the direction and the objective of that company, and you just don't have the freedom and the latitude to do exactly what you see as your vision. And so a big part of the decision was really A, do I still believe in providing true, genuine traceability to clients, which is essentially what I've been doing for the last 15, 20 years? And the answer was a definitive yes. And could I do it better on my own independently without having to necessarily follow the the norms or the rules of a corporate environment? And that was a definitive yes. So just on those 2 points, in my mind, my mind was already in that space. And to a certain extent, when I was working in my prior company, um, I was an entrepreneur in a way because there was no real business for traceability 20 years ago at all. So I essentially had to develop the business as we were going along, where the market was not even thinking about traceability at that point. So I have been an entrepreneur, in a way for 20 years, but paid to be one. And now I have the experience and the knowledge and the network to implement it in the way that I feel would be to the benefit of the clients. So, yeah, that's really that in a nutshell.
I totally understand that. I think there's a secret entrepreneur in all of us that looks at maybe our day to day lives and thinks, I can do that better. And sometimes that's a great idea. And sometimes you end up biting off more than you really think you can chew. And it really just becomes a process of figuring out, how am I going to make this work?